Hey everybody, it's a nice cool Saturday finally, and we're just about done with some trusses here. Sun's beaming in pretty good. I don't know if you can see that. I'm building some steel trusses today. There's another one finished up over there. Lighting isn't real good. Let me take you over to where I'm building them. This is the paint booth, and we're putting an addition onto the paint booth. We're doing some flux core out of the Miller suitcase today, and I've got some blocks screwed to this deck here, and we're getting all our intermediate braces and stuff in the right place. And it's good to have a jig when you're doing something like this, so you don't get them all out of shape and stuff. These will all be exactly the same. Lighting's kind of terrible, but let me pop this one off here and I'll try and show you what it looks like. Okay, I've got that one kind of standing up in front of the door there. We've got two braces on the long run. They are 22 feet wide, and as you can see, they're a little bit wider than the paint booth. And I'm going to pull the paint booth forward, build this structure, then back the booth underneath it. It's going to go up higher than the booth. We're going to back underneath it. And then in this area here, you guys that have been following along, we're going to put a 4-post lift here. Be able to drive on the lift, pick it up to the deck height, and drive in. And I'm going to try something a little bit different with these. I'm going to get, I think there's going to be 6 of them. Yeah, there's going to be 6 trusses. And I'm going to build them on the ground. I'm going to put the purlins on. I'm going to put the metal roofing on. It'll be the same green metal roofing. I'm going to build it on the ground, and I'm going to try and lift it into place. When I was building the paint booth, the roof was my trickiest part, building it alone. Setting the ridge and putting all the rafters in, and then going back on the outside and putting the insulation, and then the purlins, and finally the roofing. So I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work out lifting it, but I'll show you good or bad how it works out. So we've got that one done. We've got that one. Got another one leaning up over here. So I'm not sure how it's going to go lifting it, but I might be able to do something if we walk inside here. You see this 4-post lift here. That's the underside of it. I think if I build a scaffolding on that and set the roof on that completely finished, I might be able to lift it. But I'll show you. I'm going to try and get the trusses finished up today and start getting them laid out and get the paint booth moved, and we'll take it from there. Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Turned into a crazy weekend, but I was able to get all of my trusses built on Saturday. So they're sitting here, and it's the work week again, so we're back on another engine, and these will have to wait a little bit. Got a busy week this week. We've got that Prairie Gold CJ5 is being picked up on Wednesday, so it'll be good to see those guys and get those guys loaded up and on the way back to Georgia. And that's just sitting safely in the paint booth over there. So trusses are going to have to wait a little bit, and I will take you over to the bench and show you what I'm working on. And I got the valve seats in another engine, and I'll show you what those look like and how we're cutting them again. Okay, here we are on the transmission bench. We've got Scott's M38 transmission transfer case taken apart. We've got the transmission parts soaking. Transfer case is apart now, and as you can see, let me try and get you in here. You see all these teeth are chipped. This is what happens when you slam it into low range. intermediate gear teeth really take a beating. So I did source a new old stock gear, and we're going to do the bearing upgrade on that, where we put the Timken bearings in there. I've showed that before, and I'm waiting for the gear to come in. Everything else looks pretty good. Bearings are a little sloppy. We're going to change those out. Thrust washers are in terrible shape, but we don't need those when we do the bearing upgrade. And all the transmission parts look real good. We don't have to actually change any gears. Just change some bearings. This setup was leaking real bad, and you could see just all the junk that built up in the transfer case. Transmission was real bad because it had been leaking for years, but we'll get it sorted out. Just waiting on some pieces to come in. I've got almost everything to rebuild the transfer case except that gear that's coming in. So we'll get on to other things. Transmission thrust washers eating away real bad, but nothing we can't handle. We'll get that taken care of for you, Scott. And let's head over to Adolfo's engine, and I'll show you where I'm at on that. Okay, intake valves weren't real bad. We're just cutting them in the cast iron. And they came out very nice. Try to get you a shot. That's hard to see with the lighting, but those came out very nice. And we put seats in. You can see there's one seat there. We did all the exhaust, and I get my seats from a supplier who can get just about any size, and that's basically his business, is selling hardened seats. So I tried exhaust number 4 with the New Way cutters, and it took me forever to get that cut. And then I tried number 3 with the stones, and basically you need to break through the material, and then you can cut them with the New Way cutters. But they're super hard. He asked me if I wanted the best seats I can get, and naturally I like to put the best stuff in that I can. So I got these super hard seats that I've never had to cut before. And it goes a little bit easier with the valve cutting stones to get your basic shape in there. This is a 60, and I make my own angles over, and I'll show you that. I make my own angles with the diamond bit. But I'm going to run a 60 through there, clean that out pretty good, and get my basic 60-degree cut. Then we'll do our 46, and then we'll do our 31. But once you break through the material a little bit, they cut with the New Way. So I'll give you a little preview of this. And you've seen me do it before. I vacuum all these down, make sure that they pull a good vacuum, and the intakes are done. This 3 and 4 exhaust are done. I gotta do 1 and 2. So this is a very hard stone, and this one is used for cutting the valve seats on Cummins B series engines. They got very hard seats in the Cummins B series. So I grabbed a 1.5 inch, and I have a Sioux brand cutter, so it's got the star. And I grabbed these, and they're not real aggressive, but they do cut nicely. They don't wear out too bad. And I'll show you how we cut this seat next. Okay, we're going to grab our driver here and just lightly, there's a spring in here, and that's so that we don't just, we can bounce on that and not really take too much at a time. So we'll spin that up, and we'll just start to cut the seat. I'll give you a little preview of that. You cut your whole valve seat this way. You could use different stones, roughing stones, finishing stones. And you cut the whole seat like this. I like the New Way cutters, and this just hogs the material out of the way a little bit faster. But you can't cut these by hand with the New Way. It's just, this is a little bit faster to get some material out of the way. But you can run the whole way through with stones. So we're just starting to break in our 60 degree, and we'll keep going with that. There's nothing special about using the grinder. A lot of guys use them, and they've been used for years, and you can pick up a motor and a stone holder at a swap meet or something, and then your stones are, you know, maybe $15–20 a piece. A lot cheaper to cut them like this than it is with the new way cutters, but it's just a personal preference. I use both depending on what I'm doing. For hardened seats, I like to rough them in with the stones, but I don't want to bore you just showing you the stones spinning around. So I'll get this one set, we'll vacuum it down, and then we'll move on to the last one. I'm still waiting on the crankshaft for this engine. It's not done yet. Hopefully I'll have that. Once we get the valves done, then we can start boring it, and hopefully the crankshaft's going to show up soon, so we keep moving on this. But we'll bust that 60 degree angle in there first, and then continue on from there. Okay guys, we're making good progress on a Dolpho's engine here. Got all the valve seats cut and everything, and the exhausts were tough like we talked about, but I got those in there. And we're just going to grab a random valve. This is intake number 1, and I want to try and show you, try to focus in on it for you. You see our ring there when we lapped it. It's not all the way at the top, it's not all the way at the bottom. You want it just to the upper part of the valve. I think you can see that in there. Just to the upper part of the valve, and these are coming in right at about 90 to 95 thousandths wide. And that's what you want. And let's get over there on the seat. You see them jump, and that's when you know you got it right, when they're jumping. So, I know I go over this a lot, but your valves are critical to making good power. If you have leaky valves or something, your engine's just not what it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. And I find so many engines like that. They come in, and guys are like, my engine's just not running right. And, you know, we look at the valves, and there's always trouble with the valves. I'm going to show you, like I always do, I'm going to show you, we're going to vacuum, pull a vacuum on one of these guys. You see we're pulling, let's see if you can see that. So we're pulling good vacuum on that. And if you're not getting vacuum without the valve spring and all that, just the weight of the valve, go back and recut it some more. You need to be able to pull 20 inches of vacuum for your valve to be operating correctly. So I have more in-depth videos if you want to see how to cut them and stuff, but just a basic overview today. Make sure your valves are cut right, and you know I like to do the 60 degree on the bottom, the 46 and the 31. That gives it an interference fit. You can cut them 45 degree if you like, it's no big deal. I just use 46 and 31 instead of 45 and 30. But make sure your line is not too far up at the top. I think you can see the line there. Make sure it's not too far up at the top, you'll just burn the valve. Make sure it's not too low, it's not going to seal right. If you're going to do this for yourself, or you're going to do more than one, it's worth getting a vacuum gauge, so you know you can actually see that your valves are sealing before you start the engine. And we know this one's right. Everything is marked. Exhaust 1, intake 2, exhaust 2, exhaust 3. They're all marked. They're going to go back in the hole that they were, that they went in. You know, I mean, that's where I fit them, and that's where they're going to go. Now, nice thing about this block, compared to that disaster in the MB block we started with. That one, remember, is way over 80 thousandths. I can't fit a piston, and there's so many other problems. I just don't want to sleeve that one. It would get too expensive for them. So we decked this. I've got a little rust on it, but we decked this. We fit the valves. We got new guides in there. We reamed them. Everything is fitting perfectly. This is a standard bore block. Number 2 cylinder is 3 inches 136. That's our biggest cylinder up at the top here. So I do believe we can get away with 20 over piston. I'm going to set up and bore this 20 over, and hopefully it'll clean up number 2. The other ones I'm certain it's going to clean up. But that's where we're at on this engine. And we'll start boring that next. And then we've got Scott's engine here. This M38 engine, still authentic. He's got a very nice vehicle that this is going into. And this has valve problems, I'm sure. Hear that shucking up and down and side to side? Just spinning there. That valve guide is shot. And the valve is a mess, I'm sure. Look at this one. That's not even hitting the seat. And that's just moving all around. So this is what you get on these old engines, and you've got to be diligent about getting every component right. I see it all the time where guys get one thing right and they miss real bad on another thing. And that's just, you know, that's just the guys that are always complaining they can't get up a hill and they don't have the power. And these weren't too terrible when they were new, when everything was right. And then there was a whole generation of guys that really messed them up. So if you're starting again, valves are critical. Obviously, piston and wall clearance and main bearing clearance and rod bearing clearance. There's a million things that are critical on these. And a lot of guys are starting to take engines apart and put them back together incorrectly. And a lot of them wind up here. This MB was running. It wouldn't have ran for long. I don't think they drove it too much at all. You know, there's a lot wrong with it, so we decided to abandon that one. And because it's a CJ2A, and put a real CJ2A motor in there. So just be careful out there, guys, and if you're going to tear into your engine, make sure you know what you're doing. Get a service manual, read about things, watch my videos. I'll explain everything you need to know about putting an engine together. And even if you don't do it yourself, at least you can have an intelligent conversation with the shop that's doing the work. So we've got a whole mess of parts here that go to this engine that need to be cleaned up. Rods are oversized. We're going to need to cut and recondition those. And everything's just beat up. So we'll start cleaning those parts up. And I've shown boring cylinders so many times, I'm not going to show it again. So I will meet you back for a later part of this engine when we're throwing the pistons in or reconditioning the rods or something like that. So just a short one for today to bring you up to date on all the projects. Everything is moving along, and things are busy, but we're making progress every day. So everybody hang in there with me, and it won't be long before you have your projects back. So I'm going to end this one here. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Hey guys, just continuing the video a little bit. I just couldn't end it there because this is a good example of a rebuilt engine that was kind of a mess. Now I ran this one. This is out in our overflow shed here with the CJ7 and the J20. I ran this engine and I just pulled the temporary radiator off, and I got nothing but mud out of that radiator, and you could see it dripped out here, very thick. I had to actually wash the radiator out with a hose because it was like mud coming out of this engine. And Now, this engine came from a professional shop, well known. They do a lot of motors and stuff. But when you don't wash the block out properly, a lot of guys will throw blocks in a hot tank, leave them in there. Hot water blows all over them. But if you look back at my engine cleaning video, you see I do it with the hot water pressure washer, and I completely clean the cooling system out. And when I run an engine on the test stand, and then I drain it, nothing but clear water comes out. So that leads me to believe there's a lot of sludge still in the cooling system on this engine. It's all put together, but you know, if it were mine, I'd probably take it apart and do it again, and really clean it out. Now, again, being from an engine shop, and they do a lot of L and F heads from what I hear. I fired this one up, went to time it, and flywheel's on 180 out. So when you should be looking at the timing marks, they're on the other side. Very common rookie mistake. I don't usually see it from engine shops, but when you're timing it in that hole right there, you can put the flywheel on two ways, the correct way or 180 out. And again, these professionals put it 180 out. I fired it up and realized they had no thermostat in there, although they put the thermostat housing on. Just a lot of stuff it's just sad to see these days, you know what I mean? And now this is an early two-way engine, and this is going in a very early CJ two-way, number 68. And a while ago, I rebuilt the transmission, transfer case, PTO, all that stuff. And although it's a little dusty, I think you can see that'll shine right up. Now this engine's been out here for just a little bit, and I mean it's rusting real bad. The paint is so thin, it's just it's probably just your typical spray bomb that they put on here. It's not lasting. It's terrible. The best time to put down good engine paint is when the engine is clean. And now it's hard to even put good paint over this bad paint. So it's just bad news on this engine. And then aside from losing a lot of parts on this engine, I know the carburetor, the rebuilt carburetor was lost. I don't know how things get lost like that. But they decided to put the transmission on, but did not include a fork or a pivot for the fork inside there. So now the transmission has to come off. The exhaust manifold and intake manifold are off, as you could see, because the heat riser valve was completely, I mean, frozen, like you can't even move it with a hammer type frozen. And it was closed, and we found out soon when we were running this that it was just boiling the fuel out of the carburetor. And aside from being just bad mistakes like that, like I say, this engine's going in an early CJ2A, and we can see in there, it just got Napa hardware in there, those Rockford bolts, and you could see them here. I know there's a lot of controversy between guys doing restorations and guys doing just something they're going to run out, you know, for hunting or something like that, or just off-road it. But when you take an engine and you want it restored correctly, you know, when you get stuff like this, it's kind of disappointing. These are the little fine details that I take pride in when I do an engine. But as you can see, other shops don't. I mean, they've just got regular coarse, incorrect bolts everywhere. And again, this is going back as a very nice restoration, but sadly, the engine was just, I mean, maybe they got the machining right, maybe they got the valves right like I do them, I don't know. Super disappointed with the amount of, like I say, mud that came out of the cooling system here. You know, I wouldn't like it if it was my engine, and I'd never let an engine go out like this. But this is what a lot of guys are getting out there, and I thought it was a good time to show you some of the mistakes you can easily make when you pick a shop, and you know it's not what they do. It's, you know, I mean, this is what I do. I do restorations. I do high quality restorations, and I do, you know, quick and dirty stuff for the guys that are just using it around the farm or something. But you've got to know what your customer wants, and you've got to be able to take it to the next level if you need to. This engine fell way short of that. I would be embarrassed to put this out there. I'd be embarrassed to give this to a customer and have all those things wrong with it. So just want you guys to be conscious of where you take your engines, because I mean, this is not the only one I see like this. I see them all the time. They come in like this, and it's just they've wasted a lot of money, and a lot of stuff is wrong. So it's sad, but it's a reality out there. Now I'm going to take you inside and show you that intake and exhaust. And you can see we were really seeping out of the head gasket here. I don't know why. I don't know if the head's been cut. I don't know if the block's been decked. I don't know if anything's been done. This is a mystery motor to me. But this is excessive. I don't like any of that. So I have everything plugged up right now, so nothing can get in there. Bees are crazy this time of year. They make nests everywhere. But I've got to pull the transmission transfer case and pull the clutch, flip the flywheel around, pull the starter off of there. But for now, I'm going to take you guys over and show you the intake and exhaust, and just so you know what not to do. This one's really stuck, and you know, don't run your Jeep like that. You'll just run into trouble. So let's head back in the shop, and I'll show you where I'm at. Okay, guys, here we are on the bench. Now you can see this one is just a disaster. Now they make very nice coatings for exhaust and intakes. You know, obviously this didn't get anything like that, but they do make very nice coatings. I've showed them before. They work real good. They hold up nice. But see your little flapper in there. And this is just, I mean, you can't. That's solid. That will not move. So I've got another one, a spring and lever here. We'll have to pull this all apart. Everything will have to come apart. We'll cut the old one out. We'll put it in there and get it working, because you just can't have it not working. It's better to just cut it right out of there and have nothing than have it, you know, closed. I mean, look how hot it got. It just burned everything right off there. Not good. So I'm just putting these videos out, so hopefully, like I say, I see this too many times. It's too many times it happens. I hear horror stories. People send me engines in, and they're just a disaster. Be conscious of where you're bringing your engine, and if you want restoration quality work, make sure they understand that. And if you just want something to go through the swamp with, make sure they understand that as well. You know, you don't have to. All the machine work has to be right on the money, no matter what engine you're doing. But you know, the fit and finish and the paint and the coatings that go on here and stuff like that doesn't have to be as perfect if you're just going to, you know, run around off-road or something. But there is a line between, you know, a swamp buggy and something that you're taking to a car show. So just be conscious of that. I hate to see these engines like this, and I get them all the time. So I'm going to quit here. I just kind of went off on a little rant there, but I get too many of these and I shouldn't. So we'll kill it here, and thanks for watching. And this time for sure, we're ending it, and I'll catch you on the next one.